Hey, how's it going? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome to the final battle in the Macedon vs India head-to-head with Republic of Play on Total War Rome 2 Divide et Impera. This is what all these streams have been leading up to, this final battle that will decide who wins the campaign. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about kind of what happened after this battle at the end of the engagement itself, but for now we will go ahead and just, take a look at the army formations, what people are bringing, and then also take a look at the battlefield, because the battlefield plays a pretty big part in this one. But just know that this was basically the culmination of everything that we'd been working towards. All the 14 5-hour streams led to this big battle. We had been at war for some time, there was a lot of small skirmishes, but this was the first and last time our armies clashed. We both have 40 units and we are both looking for blood, to win a decisive battle and push the enemy back in one way or another. So as you can see, our reinforcements are both coming onto the battlefield, and my army basically consists of my upgraded bronze shield pikemen, which you can't really see at the moment. There you go, you can kind of see them a little bit better now. So my bronze shield pikemen right here, who are upgraded, got the best armor I can bring, and they've got some decent stats as well. We'll go on slow-mo as well whilst we do this. We don't want to miss any of the action. So yeah, these guys are pretty decent. You can see some of them do have, here are my bronze shield pikemen back here. And again, 2 chevrons of bronze experience isn't anything too crazy, but it adds to them. It makes them hold a little bit stronger. And these guys are pretty decent. In front of them, I have some of my Judea spearmen. These guys are from Jerusalem. A very, very nice, hybrid unit that can kind of hold my front line and support my infantry. And also for my missile contingent, I'm bringing Rhodian slingers. They're, proved me very, very well in these engagements in the campaign so far, so definitely going to be using them. For my cavalry, I have some of these Thessalonical Hypastus, I think is how you pronounce the last word. Basically just kind of light shock cavalry, nothing too crazy. I also have my general cavalry, which is 200 men deep, which is just such an OP strength of Macedon. It really, really is. And then the rest of my cavalry is going to be mainly consisting of melee cavalry. I also have my secondary army, which is coming in, and these guys are fresh recruits but hardened warriors. These guys have been drilling for years, and as you can see, they actually start off with triple silver experience. These are my veterans who have gone back home, reformed up, and been called to the war against India. So you can see these guys, their stats along with the army bonuses as well. You can see they've got 9 attack, 11 melee defense, but the main thing is they have 67 morale. It's pretty big for pikemen. It basically means if they get enveloped, they'll do a much better job at holding the line. So as you can see, the battle did start off like this. Darren's army was mainly around this position right here where my mouse cursor is and where my cavalry is sweeping through the woodland. However, because his own reinforcements were coming on from this direction, it meant he had to switch his entire army around to basically form up one big battle line, because if he didn't, he could have easily got cut in half and his armies would have been very, very disorganized. Now that also could have been something that he could have used to his advantage. He tried to attack me on a 2-pronged defensive, with one army coming in from this direction and another army coming down the hill. It did really suck for him though that his reinforcements didn't come on from this direction, because it meant that he gave up this huge hill at the back of the map right here. He could have defended this and been in a really, really good position to hold this with their height advantage, because hills do make a big, big difference. Darren's army is going to consist of his front line, though. We'll take a look at that right now. So these armies are basically the best of the best that we can bring to the battle. Maybe there's a few units here and there, but the majority of the units we have here are going to be our strongest armies. So yeah, Darren has these awesome shock club infantry, really good armor piercing, great shock infantry. If they get round the side, they can do some serious morale damage, as well as armor piercing, which, I do have a lot of armored units. There's this cool hybrid archer unit, which kind of can help fend off cavalry quite nicely. However, against heavy horse, they're going to have a bit of a harder time. He also has, we can't really see half of these guys because they're hiding behind these hills and my armies aren't over. He also has some of these amazing bowmen, which I can't see quite yet. Where are they? Are they over on this flank? No, this is Yeah, no. So he also has these guys right here as well. They're like kind of two-handed sword infantry, which are pretty deadly. Again, really good shock infantry. He also has some amazing bowmen. Yeah, you can just see them fading out right now here. They have really good range. They match my Rhodian slingers for range, and they do some pretty decent damage as well. So it's going to be something we have to be really scared of. Probably the thing I'm most scared of in this battle is this heavy Parthian cavalry. These guys are insane. Okay, we're going back to my general apparently. No, these Parthian cataphracts are just going to be the strongest cavalry in the game, basically. They're going to be able to do so much damage to my own horse. And as you've seen, a lot of my cavalry isn't heavy shock cavalry. It's, you know, medium shock cavalry with heavy melee cavalry. I'm kind of, my battle plan is mainly to hold the enemy in place with melee cavalry and then bring spearmen to reinforce, because I have a lot of lighter spearmen in my armies. So this heavy shock cavalry is going to be super scary, and, you know, I don't really have much to match it, you know, really. And here we go. Here's a look of his really good longbowmen. These guys, their range is just amazing. If we take a look at it, yeah, it's 215 range. I think my Rhodian slingers do outrange them just because my armies are really... No, they don't actually. Yeah, the Rhodian slingers are the same. What about the reinforcement Rhodian slingers? Are they the same still? Yes, we actually do have the same range on our missiles, which is very interesting. And then finally, Darren's kind of last killer weapon are these amazing Indian war elephants, extremely heavily armored. If he bides his time with this unit and commits it at the right time, it can literally win the battle for him. So it's going to be very interesting. You know, if my missiles are tied up, he throws these guys in, and I'm going to have little to no way of killing them. It's going to be very, very scary, and he has 2 full units of them as well. So the battle is going to be, you know, very, very intense. And let me tell you, it may look kind of simple, the decisions and stuff we make, but at this current point in time, things were very stressful. The campaign hinged on this. If I lost this battle, then I would be pushed back massively. I'd have no way of reinforcing due to the population in Divide et Impera. You know, I'm moving into enemy territory right now. And that's basically meaning I have no way to replenish my infantry or my armies. So, you know, every casualty I take in this battle is huge. And if I beat Darren's army back here, he basically is in submission. So, you know, everything is to play for. And, you know, one of the things I've got the advantage of, I think, in this battle is not only these, you know, really elite kind of silver chevron infantry, it's also that my generals are really experienced. I think at this point, I am playing with, you know, at least, I think, a couple tier 6 generals and some pretty heavily armored, upgraded armies as well. So not only am I getting buffs from my chevrons, I'm also getting some pretty major buffs from my armies and the other stuff in the engagement. But anyway, let's jump ahead towards when the battle starts. It was a long intro, but I think in these head-to-head battles, you guys need to get all the information in case you missed the stream. And if you want to catch up on the streams and watch how the last 4 ended, because they are on YouTube, I'll leave a link down below in the description where you can find them and catch up. Okay, so the last unit is now moving into position, and then the battle will commence. So one of the really awesome things about Divide et Impera and why this battle map is actually really interesting is because of the new line of sight in DEI. Basically, you can hide units really effectively in the forests that he can basically not see any of these units because they're hiding in the forest, which is really cool. It adds so much flavor to the battlefield. Also, I can't see this big part of Darren's army because I can't physically see them. They are behind a hill right now. So for all I know, Darren could be hiding a large amount of units right here, or special units. And I just love that about the DEI new battle system. It adds so much more interesting strategy to the battle that you could really, you know, hide units effectively, set up ambushes in the battle itself. And something that you guys will see soon is Darren completely outplays me. And because of the stress level of this battle, I honestly wasn't thinking about this, and I really should have cleared these woods out with my own cavalry. Darren manages to sneak a unit of cavalry from here all the way behind the mountain, through the woodland, back round here, you know, past all these mountains, and then positions his cavalry right here. But obviously I can't see it because of the line of sight, you know. There's lots of forests in the way and other positions, you know. It's just as if Darren can't see my cavalry hiding in the woods right there. So I really do love that mechanic, and as you can see, the battle is going to get kicked off right now. So I have these 2 units of my Jude spearmen on the front lines. These guys are basically here to absorb the initial javelin tosses and a few arrow tosses, because I know that they're pretty decent and they'll hold their own. And as well as that, they also can break up Darren's formation. Obviously, my formation relies on a contingent line of pikes. However, if I can force Darren to kind of, funnel into these gaps in between my spearmen, that was kind of the plan. And then I can use that as a blocker for my pikemen to like maneuver around and catch his infantry on the front lines. Because that's kind of how this battle will go. If my front line can hold long enough to smash through his center, then I win the battle. If Darren's heavy cataphracts, elephants, and shock infantry can break my flanks and then crush inwards and destroy my center, then, then Darren will win the battle. That's what really is relying. And here you go, my Rhodian slingers are now moving into range. I'm going to be unloading onto one unit, trying to take out these bowmen as quickly as possible. And you can see their numbers are dropping quickly. There's 6 Rhodian slingers focusing down on one unit. And these guys haven't even fired a shot right now. So I'm really happy I managed to get this first initial shot off. These bowmen still aren't even shooting, which is kind of weird. And the battle is going to kick off really quickly. So let's go back onto slow-mo right now. And here we go. Darren going ahead and sprang his trap right now. Really nice move right here. And because of the high pressure situation that we were finding ourselves in this battle, there's a lot to play for. I just didn't see these guys whatsoever, and I didn't kind of do my due diligence of sweeping these woodland to kind of make sure so, because I was so focused on the front lines. And Darren is going to be able to catch these guys. Luckily, this unit of fixed artillery, which I thought was maneuverable and it wasn't, so I had to leave it behind, basically revealed this ambush for me, and it was huge because it meant that Darren couldn't bring both of his cavalry units down. And Darren's going to get an amazing charge right now with some of these medium shock cavalrymen from the steppes in the north, and just be able to charge right back in. He also gets a nice volley fire onto my general unit as well, and he's going to get a complete rear charge on these Rhodian slingers. And as you can see, I haven't reacted yet. I still don't know that this is happening. And that's how focused I was on the front lines, which is just so crazy. And Darren's going to come in and get a really nice cavalry charge on my Rhodian slingers. And if it wasn't for that one unit of fixed artillery, things could have been a lot worse. You can see I still haven't reacted yet. I still haven't seen this. And that's just so huge in the battlefield right now that it's taking me this long. I'm losing so many Rhodian slingers, and finally I commit my cavalry unit. So Darren's managed to take out that fixed artillery, which was pretty useless, but it played such a big role in the battlefield. And now my general cavalry of 200 units, which I will say is pretty goddamn ridiculous. It means the Macedonian cav generals basically act as like another unit, as 2 units of cavalry. So this is, instead of like, so if we take away my fixed artillery, instead of like a 40 v 39 unit battle, I have 2 general units. So it's basically like I have 43 units and Darren has 40. Or 42, 41, because I don't have that fixed artillery. Maths is hard early in the morning. But as you can see, the battle lines have commenced, and look how messy Darren's front line is, He's got one unit engaging my pikes right here. We've got kind of this unit holding the front line, and he doesn't want to commit the rest of his phalanxes forward because he doesn't want to go ahead and mess up his battle line. Now, that's giving me great opportunities. Yes, Darren's going to be able to come around the side and envelop these guys, but I know for a fact, because these guys have fought with me, their morale is pretty high, 54 morale is nothing to kind of shun at, and the fact that I can now get my pikemen forward and engage his front lines, it doesn't really matter if this unit does get enveloped because I know it will hold. And now I can start pushing my pikemen forward against Darren's hoplites. You can see the pikes themselves moving their way down, looking very, very cool. So as we said, the battle is going to be mainly determined whether or not Darren can crush my flanks, because I have about 9 pikemen in the front lines out of 40, so it's kind of 1/4 of my front line is going to be these pikemen, and if they can hold this front line and push back Darren's army, I'm going to win pretty dramatically. However, he does have a large amount of these kind of two-handed greatsword infantry fighting away against my spearmen, but even these spearmen can form hoplites, which is really nice. So it's going to really come down to these cavalry fights and whether or not Darren can with them. Because, I mean, he does have some medium shock cavalry and I have heavy shock cavalry. So things are going to be looking pretty good for me over on this flank. However, it's the other flank that is going to be really, really interesting. You can see Darren gets an amazing charge on the back flank. This really did take me off, and I had to bring in some of my high passes to go and try and take these guys out with some more shock cavalry. But as you can see right now as well, Darren, I think, has his heavy shock cavalry in the, right here, about to spring from the vision, which again I love so much, and catch my heavy shock. I have heavy shock cavalry as well. I mean, these guys are nowhere near as heavy as Darren's Parthians. Yeah, these are more like mercenary step lancers, I think. and I'm just going to get run through by Darren's heavy Parthians. You know, these guys are cataphracts, they're extremely deadly, these are super heavy, and they're going to slaughter my cavalry. Not only that, I believe he also has a unit of spearmen. Yeah, he's sending over a unit of spearmen as well, so he's winning this flank quite convincingly, and I didn't even get a good charge off there whatsoever. The rest of our front lines have continued to clash as well, as Darren moves in some of his more medium spearmen against my very heavy swordsmen, which is going to be pretty goddamn nice for me. However, the elephants have now been committed to the battlefield, and they found a beautiful gap in my formation, and they are hammering into the rear of my spearmen. However, I've managed to finally deal with this cavalry engagement. I think this cavalry is desynced or something, but don't worry, the battle still is playing like it should. I think Darren committed these elephants in the center a little bit too early. He needed to take out more of these Rhodian slingers, or find some way to take out more of these Rhodian slingers, because right now the Rhodian slingers have the best AP in the game, and they're going to be focusing down these elephants. But the elephants are still doing a crazy amount of damage, ripping through these Thorax infantry on the front line. And this right flank is also looking pretty scary as Darren's bringing up more of his elephants. However, I knew that this was going to happen. You know, this was what I was expecting, so I made sure to hold infantry back. I've got my general unit throwing its skirmisher volleys at Darren, and I'm also bringing over 2 units of my lighter infantry. They're actually running to the battlefield right now, and these guys have 2 or 3 javelins themselves, so that's what we're going to be using to focus down the armored elephants. But do keep in mind, the armored elephants are very, very good, and they kill cavalry extremely quickly. You know, this isn't like Pelennor Fields. The elephants will do an insane amount of damage to cavalry in a prolonged engagement. So taking these guys out is very, very important to me. And, I'm going to have to try my best to focus down all of this cavalry on it, as well as using these reinforcements. However, Darren is also committing more and more reinforcements over here. Luckily, I'm kind of holding Darren in the front line with my spearmen, which is nice. I'm surprised he didn't try and kind of go through these gaps, which kind of got created. There's a big gap right here. But then again, I guess that's exactly what he's doing right now, but I have more infantry coming across. And my front line is doing its job, It is winning the day against Darren's infantry, even though these elephants are in my rear, causing some really big morale issues. Look at that. The fact is, I am just now starting to kill these elephants. I think they were committed a bit too early to the battlefield, and, because this frontline battle is so fierce, I just managed to get so much more damage off of Darren's missiles. Now he's really starting to put up. Maybe these guys weren't dead because they're still shooting me. Maybe these were just left out in the side. I'm not sure. I feel like that wasn't the case because I would have just killed them like this, but maybe they were. Now Darren is really starting to focus down my Rhodian slingers, and as you can see, I'm running pretty low on them. These guys are kind of close to routing. I've got a few other units as well, which are also pretty close to routing. Darren's doing a great job of just completely enveloping my cavalry here. I don't really stand a chance. The Parthians are just far too strong for me. So Darren is really winning this right flank. However, I have now managed to get some units of cavalry through the gaps, and they're going to be charging right onto Darren's missiles. With stuff like this, you can really get good charges. However, this is going to be the spear cavalry, and as you can see, they're going to form up really effectively. Obviously, I'm going to get the initial charge, but in a prolonged engagement, these guys are going to be doing pretty decent against my horses for missile units. So, even though this is a spear, even though this isn't a missile unit, their spears will kind of fight off and fend for themselves, which is a really nice hybrid unit Darren does have. He also managed to break one of my infantry units here by completely surrounding them. However, again, I do have plenty more infantry to be sending into the fight. And as you can see, the center is kind of being broken. I'm losing a few units over here due to the elephants. You can see quite a few of my units are breaking. However, I've killed them now. I've managed to kill the elephants on this position. I think they're still causing me an issue on the right flank. No, yeah, they're still causing me an issue over here. But over in the center, I've dealt with such a big threat of the battlefield. And yes, they messed up my battle line. Yes, they almost broke a lot of these guys. But they're done for right now. My slingers can now focus back onto Darren's missiles, and I can focus onto taking other parts of the battlefield out. And in this front line, the front line was always going to go in my way, in my favor. I was always going to be kind of the dominating power, and it's just the quicker I did this, the better. You can see a lot of Darren's missiles focusing these guys out. He's also committing more units of this medium heavy infantry to the battlefield to go and try and kill more of my cavalry. So he's kind of winning this cavalry engagement. You can see my cavalry's really close to routing here, and he's kind of like holding me in place here with a lot of infantry. I'm kind of winning the center, and as you can see, I'm breaking through the gaps in the center, and also kind of breaking down his infantry right here as well. And Darren's kind of doing a good job over in this part, but I'm also winning this cavalry engagement. I managed to get 2 units of infantry to this fight, but these elephants are still causing me so many issues. Can we see how many kills they have right now? Only 37, so that's not actually that many. Which is kind of really good for me. However, a lot of them kills were on cavalry, so you've got to give them some credit there, and they're always going to be the focal point of my army. You know, whenever I see these elephants, I'm going to throw everything I've got at them to try and take them out. And you can see as they are, they are racking up some kills now. They've just got another 15 kills right there. And there are still quite a few of them left, but, they are rampaging and stuff, so still plenty of damage. Darren is going to be enveloping me here. He's thrown forward one of his generals. This general unit is actually really, really strong as well. It does a ton of damage, and he's going to be rear charging one of my units back here. But again, they're still holding. Their morale is dipping pretty low, but they're holding, and that's down to my generals. That's down to the army experience. It was down to these guys being triple silver chevrons. If it wasn't for that, this unit would have been routed for being completely enveloped. But because of the stuff on the campaign map, these guys are still here. These are my veterans of the campaign. And that's why I love these head-to-heads so much, because this isn't just like a battle in the middle of, a vacuum. This is a battle that's been kind of, eaching towards one another for so long, and there's so many other factors, supply of the regions, the battle map, the armies, the commanders, the army upgrades from the veterancy. There's just so much more that really gets put into place in these battles. The type of troops you can recruit from the area. For example, if I win this battle, I'm going to be pretty goddamn depleted, and then I'm going to have to recruit, local soldiers. I'm not going to be able to recruit Greeks out here because I don't have the population to do so. So if we take a look at the overall battlefield right now, we can see as well that I'm really starting to carve in Darren's line. I've managed to smash him in this right center. Darren has won with his cataphracts on the right flank, but I kind of almost sacrificed these guys and managed to get my cavalry down here. Look as well how awesome this spear archer was. It's managed to kill my cavalry really nicely. Luckily, I'm getting some pretty heavy cavalry to the fight right now, and they're going to come in and act as like a big kind of rear hammer to basically rout these guys. These guys don't have the best morale once they're enveloped. And you can see I'm also slowly starting to win this flank as well with cavalry charges. I think I managed to dispatch a unit of cavalry from here, rear charge into this, and basically break 2 or 3 units which were currently stationed here. So now the center is completely won by me. I'm now just moving in on the flanks. These flanks are still looking a bit scary. You can see Darren is breaking quite a few units of my infantry with these envelopment moves. But I have also won the left-hand side now, and I'm also starting to fight these guys. But this heavy unit, how many kills are these guys on? We've lost 40 men. They've only got 18 kills. Really, wow. I was expecting a little bit more from these guys. They just don't seem like they can break through the front lines of my formations. Any of Darren's infantry do well? Because, how about these? These guys, these guys are on 54 kills, lost 3 men. And these are the macemen, so I guess the macemen just needed to, oh my god, my guy just got decapitated right there. So these macemen are slaughtering my infantry. It just seems like maybe these guys, they are enveloped. That's obviously why. They're losing a lot of men because they're completely enveloped. They are still getting a few kills here and there. This unit really needs to be committed right now. I'm also now bringing in cavalry that is being broken. What about some of these other units? Because I didn't really see this too much. These guys, they're fighting pikes from the front, right? 23 kills on these guys. 45 kills on these dudes, and that's all cavalry, which is not bad. 60 kills. 60 kills, yeah. Not bad on the front line, but nothing too special. I guess the main kills come from these bowmen, yeah. 70-odd kills on the bowmen. And it's mainly the units that, are engaging my pikes from the front aren't going to be the ones getting up the kills. It's the guys flanking, the dudes who are coming around the side. Because I feel like India really, really, really lacks a front line. Like, that's one of the ways they just, that I kind of had the really strong advantage of having an amazing front line, and Darren didn't, which made it so hard in the early game for him to get out of his starting position because he was fighting another Hellenic Greek faction who had an amazing front line in the Bactrians. So it was a very, very brutal beginning, and unfortunately, if it wasn't for, as you can see, I'm going to win this battle now. I think it's pretty obvious. I'm kind of caving in these flanks right now. The cavalry's hitting in the back line. I've got dudes going onto his missiles, and I'm basically just going to envelop and kill. It's not really much that he can do right now. You know, his last couple generals are fighting bravely, but they're just not going to do enough damage. And now I can bring these... I only have 3 Rhodian Slingers left remaining on the battlefield, but they can all now start focusing down important targets, and, you know, the Macedonian army is going to push them down. So now that the battle is winding down, let's talk a little bit about the campaign itself. So I think, you know, so after this battle, Darren did just say, it's over. We fought another minor battle, and Darren was just like, yeah, this battle, you know, there's no way I'm going to win. It's kind of pointless us carrying on this on, because the army's just not that great, and you're just so far ahead right now that I'm going to give up. And that was a little bit annoying. Like, I'll be completely honest, that was a little bit frustrating for me, because I feel like we play these campaigns to be immersive and fight to the end and stuff. But I also completely understand where Darren was coming from when he did throw in the towel right here, because, you know, I don't think he's had fun as this faction, honestly. I think from like turn 10 he was just really kind of just not enjoying the way that India played, especially because he was fighting a lot of the factions out there in the east, like the Seleucids and the Bactrians and stuff. So he just had such a hard time with it in the beginning of the game, and just never really got his groove, because a large thing in Divide et Impera is getting area recruitment units. So when you conquer a region, you recruit a special unit from that region that kind of filters into your army. And I think India itself really needed a unit from the Seleucids to go ahead and conquer them and, you know, take their pikemen, so that he could actually have a front line, and then his army would be solid. He'd have amazing bowmen, great shock elephants, good Parthian cavalry. He'd have really good shock infantry on the flanks, and then he would have pikemen that might not be able to go toe to toe with my own pikemen, but they'd still be pretty decent. They'd still be able to hold their own for as long as the front line needed, so that the flanks could cave in. So again, that's one of the amazing things about these head-to-heads, because I won a major battle against Darren in the early game that really set him back, and meant, you know, by the time that he got to the point where he could start taking out the Seleucids, I was already on his doorsteps, you know, knocking, looking for some Alexander the Great conquest. And that's what I think is just so awesome. You know, it's small parts like this which make such a big difference. If Darren could have got his hands on some pikemen, some area of recruitment, I think his army composition would have been absolutely, you know, really hard to beat with the Parthian shock cavalry. But because my front line was just so good, you know, silver chevron, bronze shields, that's pretty hard to beat even for anyone else, you know. But the fact that, you know, I had really upgraded generals and armies as on top of that, it was just kind of a losing battle for Darren. And with the, you know, release of Free Kingdoms and stuff, I think he just didn't want to commit 10 hours just to lose battle after battle after battle, which I do totally understand. And even if you're not having fun, that's still, you know, cool. So we will be doing more of these in the future. I think our next ones are going to be set, you know, probably after Free Kingdoms comes out. And we're probably going to be playing as, I imagine we're going to be playing as, like, Germanic factions. So we'll have, like, you know, one of us will be a Germanic faction, the other one will be an Iberian, or maybe a Gallic faction. We'll basically play as barbarians, which will be a fun change of pace, because we both played Hellenic now. One of us has played Indian, and I played as Rome in the first one as well. But also, to go back to the point of, I think a lot of people think that Macedon is ridiculously stronger than India as well, and I don't think that is completely the case. I think Macedon are stronger for sure. They'd definitely be like an A+ faction, but I don't think India is as bad as people made out. I think India has a very interesting start. It has a lot of access to the Bactrian gold and spices and stuff to make a ton of money. So I think if India can make their way to the Mediterranean, then they are just an absolute powerhouse. But until they do that, I think they definitely do struggle. And because I had such a great start, managing to basically nullify a large portion of Greece without too much issues, you know, I didn't have to fight Athens, which was just so huge. I paid them lots of money every turn. And not having to fight against Athens was just so big, because it meant instead of having to fight 4 stacks, I only had to fight 2 stacks, which was really big. But also, I feel like people forget as well, Darren came within seconds, like literal seconds, of pushing me so far back and me actually losing my capital to the Thracians to the north. We fought a massive battle for Pella where I managed to win by the timer ran out. And I literally had like 4 men left remaining. I think there was 1 unit that was soon to be enveloped. And that battle was super laggy as well. So if that battle wasn't laggy, I'm sure Darren would have had plenty of time to actually go ahead and win that engagement. And that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles sometimes. I got pretty lucky and Darren got kind of unfortunate. And, you know, if I would have lost my capital, that would have been huge. The population would have been demolished. I wouldn't have then be able to, you know, segregate the Thracian armies and take them out one by one in some pretty decisive battles. It was just such a big turning point of the campaign for me in the early game, and it kind of went my way, and Darren's one against the Bactrians didn't go his way, which was just kind of crazy. But that's going to be the battle, that's going to be the head-to-head. As you can see, I am now just clearing things up, you know, winning the battle slowly but surely, kind of caving down the flanks. So let's jump ahead towards the end screen, see the kills and casualties and stuff, and then we will go ahead and do a nice little kind of, you know, final goodbye to this head-to-head. So the battle is over, and as you can see, my Macedonian armies lost around about 2,500 men. I also went ahead and killed over 4,000, so it was a pretty good result for me. I did lose a decent portion of my army, and in Untitled Impera, you tend to lose a lot more if you lose just from units routing and getting kind of cut down. That's kind of how DEI works. But as you can see, look at this front line right now. It was basically untouched. I think the other army was a lot more depleted. A lot of my casualties came from that other army. But yeah, the front line was just so strong, and Darren just didn't have the answer to it. As I said earlier, if he would have got to, you know, the Seleucids, he could have then got his own pikemen and been able to put up a much greater fight. But I think my front line is just too strong at this point, not only because they are, you know, pikes, but also because of the skill of the, you know, experience right here and stuff. So really, really, you know, strong stuff. My cavalry did take an absolute smashing, and so did my missiles as well. And if you take a look at Darren's kills, you know, this infantry, I imagine the ones that got round the flank did great. The cavalry that rear charged me did amazing. The Parthians did pretty decent against my cavalry, and the archers did good as well. It's a shame we can't see the secondary army, because I feel like a large portion of my army, you know, was in the second. Obviously, the second part, the large portion of the kills I got were in the second part of the army itself. But overall, you know, that was a really, really fun head-to-head. Great build-up. It was unfortunate that it kind of was just so anticlimactic at the end with the war, that we just fought one big battle and that was it. But I think that was just the way that things were set up, with our factions being so far away from one another. And it was a cool story, you know. That's the main reason we picked these factions, was because, you know, Darren was like, oh, I want to give India a try. And I was like, oh, cool. Then I'll look to play as like Macedon, because I think that'd be a really, really cool story, you know. That's the main part of it. And, you know, not every head-to-head has to be super even. As I said, I think Macedon is stronger. As soon as you get past the early game, Macedon does flourish and become really, really good. And, you know, definitely one of the A+ factions, whereas India is maybe like a B. But that's also good. You know, these head-to-heads don't have to be the most balanced factions 24/7 or at all. I mean, the last one was actually really balanced with Rome and Egypt. I think Egypt is probably one of the, if not the strongest faction in the game at the beginning. So, like, yeah, I think, you know, having these imbalances is also fun, because it kind of has, you know, a better story to it and an underdog story and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I had a ton of fun playing this. It was a shame the way it ended, but, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully, you guys enjoy these battle replays along with the streams. Now, when we do stream this again, it will be on YouTube, so be sure to keep an eye open for that. Check out the last 4 streams if you haven't already. Link will be down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.